The last hum you'll ever hear. 72 hours ago, the lights went out. Not flickered, not browned, out. Permanently. Forever. And you know what the worst part is? It's not the darkness, it's the silence. That low electrical hum you never noticed? The refrigerator compressor cycling on and off? The HVAC breathing through the vents? The transformer on the pole outside humming its 60 Hz lullaby at a frequency you felt more than heard? Gone. All of it. Dead. And now you're sitting in a quiet so complete, so absolutely total, it makes your ears ring with phantom sounds your brain invents just to fill the void. Welcome to Grid Down. Not a blackout, not a storm, not a temporary inconvenience. The end of the electrical age. The death of the grid, the collapse of everything that kept you alive without you even noticing. Hope you enjoyed civilization while it lasted. Spoiler alert, it's not coming back. Everyone's got their cute little survival checklist memorized from too many YouTube videos and disaster movies. Water, check. Canned beans that'll give you sodium poisoning, check. Duct tape because apparently it fixes everything, check. Baseball bat with nails in it because you watched too much Walking Dead and thought it looked cool, check. Adorable, precious, completely insufficient. But here's the thing nobody talks about. The unspoken rules, the scientific and sociological truths that separate the survivors from the corpses rotting in their suburban homes. Today we're going deep, uncomfortably deep, into the physics, chemistry, biology, and raw psychology of what happens when 7 billion people suddenly remember they're just hairless apes on a rock with no instruction manual and no customer service line. Buckle up, strap in. It's going to be educational and deeply, catastrophically depressing. Rule 0. The silence will break you before the hunger does. The phantom hum and your unraveling sanity. You think you're ready for the quiet? You're not. Nobody is. The human auditory system evolved in environments with natural ambient noise. Wind through trees, water over rocks, birds calling, insects buzzing. But we've spent the last century and change bathing in artificial white noise. Your brain's been trained, conditioned like Pavlov's dogs, to filter it out completely. You don't hear the refrigerator anymore. You don't hear the electrical hum. You don't hear the distant highway traffic or the neighbor's air conditioner. It's become your baseline, your audio 0 point. Now it's gone. Delete it. Erased. And suddenly, every footstep sounds like a gunshot. Every breath sounds like a scream. Every creak of settling wood sounds like someone breaking in to take your supplies and possibly your life. It's called auditory hypervigilance, and congratulations, you've got it now permanently for the rest of your significantly shortened life. The science is brutally simple. Remove the baseline noise, and your brain recalibrates the threat threshold. That distant crunch of gravel at 3 a.m.? Is it a deer wandering through, or someone coming to take your last can of peaches? Your amygdala, that primitive little fear factory in your brain, doesn't care about probabilities or rational analysis. It just screams danger on repeat like a smoke alarm you can't turn off. Sleep becomes impossible. Paranoia becomes your default setting. You'll exhaust yourself, burn through your adrenal reserves, and collapse from stress long before you starve. Welcome to the new normal. It's loud with silence. Tick-tock, the water clock is already running. Here's your first real problem, and it started 72 hours ago whether you noticed or not. Municipal water systems, gravity-fed reserves. Most cities have elevated storage tanks, big steel containers on towers or hills that keep pressure in the pipes even when the pumps die. Brilliant engineering. Except those tanks were designed for temporary outages, not the apocalypse. Not this. You've got maybe 3 days, 96 hours maximum, before pressure drops below usable levels. After that, the water in those pipes isn't moving. It's stagnant, still, dead. Bacterial paradise. E. coli throwing a pool party. Gerardia setting up camp. Cryptosporidium breeding like it's the end times, which, let's be honest, it is. If you didn't fill your bathtub on day 1, if you didn't fill every container you own, you've already failed your first survival test. You're behind. You're losing. The human body is 60% water and exactly 0% forgiving about dehydration. 3 days without water and your kidneys start shutting down. Your blood thickens into sludge. Your brain swells against your skull. Your body temperature spikes because you can't sweat anymore. You die confused, angry, hallucinating, and very, very thirsty. Fun fact that'll haunt you, that's how most people go in the first month. Not bullets, not starvation, not zombies or raiders or whatever Mad Max fantasy you've been preparing for. Dehydration. Boring, preventable, absolutely lethal. The digital lobotomy.
No GPS, no Google Maps, no weather forecast, no news, no way to know if this is just your city, your state, your country, or the entire planet going dark simultaneously. The world just shrunk to whatever you can see from your roof and whatever rumors reach you through word of mouth. Welcome to the information dark age. Your smartphone? A useless slab of glass, silicon, and rapidly degrading battery. All that cloud storage? Evaporated. Every contact, every photo, every saved article about how to build a solar oven or purify water, gone, deleted, inaccessible. You've just been lobotomized, digitally speaking. And here's the kicker that nobody talks about. Humans are catastrophically terrible at navigating without technology. Studies show people can't even accurately point to north without a compass. They can't estimate distances. They can't read topography. You know what direction the nearest river is? The nearest farm? The nearest town that might still have resources? No? Then you're lost in your own neighborhood, wandering like a tourist in a city you've lived in for years. The survivors are the ones who printed maps, who memorized routes, who actually looked at their surroundings instead of its screens, who lived in the real world, not the digital one. Everyone else? They're NPCs waiting for a respawn that isn't coming. Side characters in someone else's survival story.
The Great Unraveling, when society becomes a memory. The Scavenger's Trap. Early bird gets the worm, second wave gets the bullet. Unspoken rule number 2, and it's a fun one: timing is everything and you're already late. The resource depletion curve follows a predictable pattern, almost elegant in its brutal mathematical precision. Hours 0 to 72 hours, panic buying, looting, complete chaos. Supermarkets stripped to bare shelves in under 6 hours. Pharmacies ransacked by people who don't even know what half the medications do. Gas stations drained dry by everyone with the same stupid idea to fill up and drive somewhere safer. If you weren't in line with everyone else, those resources are gone. Week 1 to month 1, the second wave. These are the people who thought they'd wait it out, who believed the government would fix it, who spent the first week eating their regular food and assuming normalcy would return. They're hungry now, desperate, dangerous, and they're looking at your house wondering what you've got stashed inside and how hard you'll fight to keep it. The science of resource mapping becomes critical here, and I mean critical in the staying alive sense. You need to think like a logistics officer from the Fallout universe. Where are the industrial warehouses that nobody looted because they're boring? Water towers with manual access. Sewage treatment plants have chemical supplies that can purify water. Hardware stores have tools that make tools. Agricultural co-ops have seeds instead of food. The survivors aren't the ones who hoarded canned soup. They're the ones who memorized infrastructure, who know that the real treasure isn't in houses where everyone's already fighting, it's in the boring industrial zones nobody thinks about. The sewage plant, the electrical substation with copper wire, the agricultural depot with bulk seeds and fertilizer. Map your area now or become a statistic later, your choice. Natural selection is a harsh teacher. Welcome to 1825, the medicine cliff. Let's talk about the thing that'll kill more people than violence, starvation, and dehydration combined. The end of modern medicine. The collapse of germ theory as a practical reality. You know what happens to a type 1 diabetic when their insulin runs out? They die. Slowly, painfully, ketoacidosis in about 2 weeks. You know how long refrigerated antibiotics last without power? Hours, maybe a day if you're lucky. Then they're useless, degraded, inert. Every surgery becomes potentially fatal because you can't sterilize equipment properly. You can't maintain sterile fields. You can't prevent infection. Every cut becomes a potential infection. Every infection becomes a potential death sentence. Every tooth abscess becomes life-threatening. We're talking about a return to 19th century mortality rates overnight. Childbirth, 50-50 odds for mother and baby, and that's if everything goes right. Appendicitis, fatal. Pneumonia, fatal. A rusty nail through your foot, probably fatal within a week from tetanus. The science is simple and unforgiving. Bacteria don't care about your emergency preparedness plan. They multiply exponentially in the right conditions. And guess what? The right conditions are everywhere now. No antibiotics, no antiseptics beyond what you can make from alcohol and fire. No way to create sterile fields, no surgical suites, no imaging to diagnose internal injuries. Germ theory just became a luxury belief system that doesn't matter when you can't act on it. The survivors are the ones with actual medical knowledge, not just a first aid kit from Costco. Herbalism for pain management, wound management and debridement, recognizing sepsis early before it kills, midwifery, dentistry, the practical medicine of the 1800s. Everyone else, they're learning that modern medicine was the only thing standing between humanity and extinction by infection. Spoiler, now it's gone. Welcome back to the era when people died from infected paper cuts. The gasoline graveyard, your car's expiration date. Here's the fun chemistry lesson that'll ruin your convoy fantasies. Gasoline degrades. It's not stable. It's a complex cocktail of hydrocarbons, hundreds of different molecules that oxidize when exposed to air and moisture. 3 to 6 months in a tank and it starts breaking down into gum, varnish, and useless sludge. Won't ignite properly, clogs fuel lines, kills engines dead. All those cars sitting in driveways, dead weight by month 6. Useless. All those prepper fantasies about Mad Max road warriors cruising the wasteland in muscle cars, hilarious. Adorable, chemically impossible. You might get a few months of mobility if you added stabilizers before everything collapsed, maybe. But eventually, inevitably, every vehicle becomes a 4,000-pound paperweight, a monument to the age of easy energy. The transportation network collapses, not with a bang, but with a sputter and a stall. Gasoline-dependent logistics? Over. Supply chains? Gone. That's why the real survivors are thinking bicycles, horses, and good old-fashioned walking. Low-tech, no fuel requirements, maintainable with basic tools and knowledge. You thought you'd be driving your truck to safety? Cute. Precious? Wrong. You'll be walking through the ruins like everyone else, wearing out boots and wondering why you didn't buy better ones when you had the chance.
The new tribalism. Skills, suspicion, and small circles. Barter economy. Why your bullets are worthless. Unspoken rule number 3, and it's going to hurt your ego. Skills are currency and trust is suicide. Everyone thinks they'll be trading ammunition and batteries like some kind of post-apocalyptic Wall Street. Wrong. Hilariously wrong. The most valuable thing you can barter isn't a thing at all. It's knowledge and ability. Can you fix a generator? Can you treat an infection without antibiotics? Can you weld metal? Can you engineer a water filtration system from scrap? Can you preserve food through fermentation and salt curing? Can you make soap from fat and lye so people don't die from skin infections? These are the skills that build real value because they can't be stolen, can't be hoarded, can't be depleted. Bullets run out, batteries die, food spoils, but the person who knows chemistry, they're making biodiesel from used cooking oil and creating primitive antiseptics from alcohol and herbs. They're making charcoal water filters. They're irreplaceable. The Walking Dead got one thing right. In a world without infrastructure, the mechanic is king and the accountant is dead weight, literally dead. Start learning practical skills now, or start accepting your place at the bottom of the new hierarchy where you trade labor for food like a medieval serf. Your MBA means nothing when society's operating on the barter system and you can't even start a fire without matches. Dunbar's number and why you can't trust more than 150 people. Let's talk anthropology and evolutionary psychology. Dunbar's number, roughly 150 people. That's the cognitive limit for stable social relationships, the maximum number of individuals with whom you can maintain meaningful social bonds and reciprocal obligations. Beyond that, you need hierarchy, bureaucracy, law enforcement, all the institutional structures that require, you guessed it, a functioning civilization with resources to spare. In a grid-down scenario, society fractures into tribal units instantly, small groups bound by kinship, proximity, or mutual survival need. And here's the dark science nobody wants to acknowledge. In-group versus out-group dynamics intensify, massively under stress. Your tribe becomes family. Everyone else becomes a threat, a competitor, a potential thief. This isn't cynicism or misanthropy, it's evolutionary psychology. When resources are scarce, the brain defaults to zero-sum thinking. Their gain is your loss. Their survival threatens yours. The result? Tribalism, territorialism, violence against outsiders. You're not building a community, you're building a fortress with about 150 people inside and everyone else on the outside looking hungry and desperate. The survivors understand this brutal math. They build small, tight, defensible groups. They establish roles and hierarchies. They create internal stability through clear rules and enforcement. Everyone else, they're trying to hold together sprawling networks of hundreds of people and wondering why it falls apart into infighting, betrayal, and eventual violence. Scale down or get crushed. Those are your options. There is no third choice.
Light discipline because you're a candle in the dark. Here's a physics lesson that'll save your life if you're smart enough to listen. Light propagation in a zero light pollution environment is terrifying. You light a candle inside your house at night? Congratulations, you're visible for miles. Literally miles. When there's no ambient light, no street lamps, no car headlights, no neighbor's porch lights, no glow from the city on the horizon, even the smallest source becomes a beacon visible from impossible distances. Your windows are glowing advertisements that say, "Here, come here, this person has resources, has shelter, has things worth taking." The survivors practice light discipline religiously. Blackout curtains on every window, covered windows with multiple layers, fires only during the day when smoke disperses and becomes invisible. At night, total darkness. Move by memory, navigate by feel, become invisible, become part of the dark. Because in a world without electricity, light equals vulnerability. Every photon you emit is a breadcrumb leading predators, human predators, straight to your door. The science is simple. Inverse square law. Light intensity decreases with the square of distance, but in total darkness, even weak sources travel far. You want to survive? Learn to live like a bat. Embrace the dark, make it your ally. The alternative is becoming a target for anyone with working eyes and bad intentions.
The long haul, rebuilding from ash and memory. The knowledge arc, why books are worth more than gold. Unspoken rule number 4, and it's the one that determines whether humanity recovers or slides into permanent dark age. You're not surviving a crisis, you're relearning civilization from scratch. And here's the uncomfortable truth that'll keep you up at night. Everything we know, every scrap of scientific and technical knowledge accumulated over centuries is encoded in formats that require electricity to access. Digital libraries? Gone. Internet? Gone. Cloud storage? A joke, a cosmic joke. What's left? Physical books, paper, ink, dead trees with knowledge printed on them. The most valuable resource in the long term isn't food or fuel or even weapons, it's information. Books on agriculture and soil science, animal husbandry, mechanical engineering, metallurgy, chemistry, medicine. These are the seeds of rebuilding. One person with a comprehensive library can bootstrap a community from subsistent survival to actual sustainability. Everyone else, they're reinventing the wheel, literally, through trial and error and failure and death. The survivors are hoarding knowledge right now. Technical manuals, encyclopedias, how-to guides, that dusty book on blacksmithing, that boring textbook on organic chemistry. That's the real prep work that matters. Because food runs out, but information compounds. Knowledge builds on knowledge. You want to be valuable 5 years into the collapse, 10 years, be the person who remembers how things worked. Be the walking library. Be the knowledge arc. Everyone else is just burning furniture for heat and wondering why they're cold and stupid.
The practical apocalypse, low-tech science for high-stakes survival. Water from air, the solar still. You need water, and the taps are dry. The bottles are gone, the streams are contaminated. Here's your solution, and it's beautifully simple. A solar still. Dead simple physics that's been saving lives for decades. Dig a hole about 3 feet across and 2 feet deep. Place a container at the bottom center. Cover the hole with clear plastic sheeting. Seal the edges with dirt or rocks. Weight the center of the plastic so it dips down in a cone shape directly above the container. The sun heats the ground, evaporates moisture from the soil, and condensation forms on the underside of the plastic and drips down into your container. Steam doesn't carry bacteria or radiation particles or chemical contaminants, just pure H2O, separated by phase change and gravity. You get maybe a liter per day in decent conditions, more if you add vegetation or contaminated water to the hole. Not enough to thrive, but enough to not die. It's slow, it's inefficient, it's also free and requires almost no materials you can't scavenge. Welcome to appropriate technology, where good enough beats perfect every single time. The survivors aren't relying on high-tech filtration systems with replacement filters that ran out months ago. They're using physics and patience. Evaporation, condensation, collection. The water cycle in miniature, controlled and predictable. Learn it, master it, stay hydrated, because dehydration kills faster than almost anything else, and it's 100% preventable if you know basic science. Methane digester, gas from garbage. You need fuel, and the gasoline's gone bad. The propane tanks are empty. The natural gas lines stopped flowing. Solution, biogas. Build a methane digester. Sealed container, 55-gallon com works fine. Organic waste goes in, anaerobic bacteria break it down, methane comes out the top. It's the same process happening in landfills and cow stomachs right now. The gas is flammable, burnable, usable. You can cook with it, heat with it, even run modified engines on it if you're ambitious. The science is elegant in its simplicity. Bacteria eat organic matter in oxygen-free conditions, produce methane and carbon dioxide as metabolic waste. You capture the methane, burn it, and suddenly you've got energy from trash, from kitchen scraps, from human waste, from anything organic. It's slow. It smells absolutely terrible. It requires maintenance and monitoring. It also works indefinitely, as long as you've got organic waste and bacteria, both of which are abundant in any human settlement. The survivors are thinking in systems and cycles. Food scraps become fuel, fuel enables cooking, cooking waste goes back into the digester. Closed loops, regenerative processes, sustainable energy from waste streams. Everyone else? They're burning their furniture, then their structure, then freezing when there's nothing left to burn and wondering why they didn't prepare better. The voltaic pile, batteries from scrap. You need electricity for small devices, radios to communicate, sensors to monitor, LED lights that don't give away your position. The battery section at the store was looted on day 2 and you weren't fast enough. Build your own. Voltaic pile, invented in 1800 by Alessandro Volta. Alternate discs of zinc and copper separated by cardboard or cloth soaked in salt water or vinegar. Stack them, connect wires to the top and bottom. Congratulations! You've just created a battery using 18th century technology built from scrap metal and table salt. It's weak, it's inefficient, it won't charge your phone. It also works, and it's buildable from materials you can find in any hardware store or junkyard. The chemistry is simple. Zinc oxidizes, releases electrons, copper accepts them, current flows through the circuit. You're not powering a laptop, but you might charge a small LED flashlight or run a low current device. The survivors understand that the future is low power. Forget your old energy consumption. Forget charging tablets and gaming. You're living in a world measured in milliamps and minutes of runtime. Adapt your expectations or sit in the dark wondering why you can't just plug things in anymore. Your choice. Passive solar heating. Physics keeps you warm. Winter's coming and you've got no furnace, no heater, no way to keep warm except what you can create with your own knowledge and scrap materials. Solution? Passive solar design and Thermomax. South-facing windows, keep them clear, let the sun in during the day. Dark-colored water barrels or large stones inside absorb heat. At night, they radiate it back slowly. Insulate ruthlessly. Seal cracks with cloth and mud, hang blankets over windows at night, reduce the volume of space you're trying to heat to one small room. The physics is straightforward and reliable. Thermal mass absorbs energy during the day when the sun is shining, stores it, releases it slowly at night, through radiation. You're using the sun as a furnace and rocks or water as a battery. It's not comfortable. It's not modern. It won't keep you toasty. It'll keep you from freezing to death. The survivors are thinking like medieval peasants. Small heated spaces, shared body heat, layers upon layers of clothing, and acceptance that cold is the new normal. Everyone else? They're burning furniture, then structure, then freezing when there's nothing left, and wondering why they didn't prepare better.
The final rule: the person you become. Here's the unspoken rule they don't put in survival guides because it's too uncomfortable, too dark, too honest. The person you are now, sitting comfortably, reading this with electric lights and running water and a functioning society protecting you from reality, that person will die in the dark. Not literally, maybe, but that version of you, with your morals calibrated to abundance and your decisions cushioned by law and order and social consequences, that person can't survive what's coming. The grid-down world is governed by physics and desperation. Thermodynamics doesn't care about your ethical framework. Entropy doesn't pause for moral contemplation. Dehydration doesn't wait while you debate the right thing to do. When resources are scarce and survival is uncertain, you will make choices that would horrify your current self. You will prioritize your tribe over strangers. You will hoard when others starve. You will defend your supplies with violence if necessary. You will watch people die without helping, because helping means your family dies instead. This isn't a moral judgment, it's a psychological inevitability. Extreme stress rewrites your decision matrix. Maslow's hierarchy collapses to the bottom: food, water, safety. Everything else becomes negotiable, optional, irrelevant. The survivors are the ones who prepare not just their bunkers, but their minds, who accept now in the light that darkness will change them, who make peace with the brutal calculus of triage and survival,
who understand that being a good person and being a survivor are sometimes mutually exclusive choices. The ultimate truth? Human nature is the wild card in every equation. You can prep your supplies, map your resources, master your skills. But the real question is this: when your neighbor's kid is starving and you've got food, what do you do? When someone threatens your family for your water, how far will you go? When the choice is between your morals and your survival, which do you choose? There's no right answer, because the question itself assumes a world with enough surplus to afford morality. That world is gone. Welcome to the new one. It runs on scarcity, tribalism, and the relentless laws of thermodynamics. Your character will be tested. Your identity will fracture. Your humanity will be negotiable. And the worst part, you won't even recognize the person you become. The lights go out, and so does everything you thought you believed about yourself. So here's your final exam, your last chance to wake up. Are you preparing your mind as rigorously as your stockpile? Because when the grid dies, your canned goods might last 6 months. Your mental framework needs to last a lifetime. The apocalypse doesn't care about your plans. Physics doesn't negotiate. Bacteria don't compromise. And the dark? The dark reveals who you really are when the lights go out and nobody's watching, and survival is the only rule left. Now tell me, what's the one unspoken rule we missed? What scientific principle do you think matters most when civilization collapses and you're standing in the ruins? Drop it in the comments. Let's talk about the science of surviving when everything you know becomes a memory and the only rule left is stay alive. Or don't. Natural selection needs data points. The gene pool could use some chlorine. Your choice. The grid's already dead. Are you next?